Valentine's Day is fast approaching, and in the UK, more and more people are turning to online dating apps to find love. It is estimated that around 11 million people in the UK are dating online, and platforms such as Tinder, Bumble, and Hinge are proving to be the most favorite platforms. However, there is a darker side to online dating, with at least 20% of people reporting that they've had one bad dating experience. Also, according to a study from the BBC, which was done a couple of years ago, it showed that at least 33% of people aged between 18 to 35 have either experienced harassment or abuse from someone that they've met online. And in today's talk, we're discussing the risks and harms of online dating affecting women. I'm Dr. Ksenia Bakina, and I'm a research fellow at the Center for Protecting Women Online. My own research focuses on image-based sexual abuse and online violence against women. Joining me for today's talk is Dr. Emma Turley, who's a visiting fellow at the Center for Protecting Women Online. She's also a senior lecturer in criminology at the Central Queensland University. Emma is also a psychologist, and her specialist interests include gender, online harms, feminism, and sexualities. And additionally, she's a co-editor of the British Psychological Society Psychology of Women and Equalities Review. Also with me today is our guest speaker, Kenya Fairley from Bumble, who's a Planning and Partnerships Associate Director at the Bumble Collective. Kenya has over 20 years of experience in trauma-informed, survivor-centered advocacy to end gender-based violence. And at Bumble, Kenya manages safety partnership that help to safeguard their online community across Bumble products, as well as growing efforts to mature content moderation practices and overseeing well-being program. So a huge welcome to both of you. It's a great pleasure to have you here with me today. So Emma, I want to turn to you because I know that you have done extensive research into the use of dating apps by older women in Australia. And I was hoping that you could tell us a little bit more about this.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to take part in this really interesting seminar. So yeah, welcome everybody. I'm really pleased to talk to you today about our research that we conducted in Australia about dating app safety among older Australian women and the role that educational videos play or can play in delivering effective safety messaging. But before we start, I'd like to first acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands and the waters on which this work was created, and I'd like to pay my respects to their elders past and present, and I acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. So, a bit of background and context to get started. Dating apps have revolutionised really how people connect, providing opportunities for everything from casual hookups to long-term marriages, essentially. While much of the research that exists already has focused on younger users, older women are increasingly using these platforms to find companionship or romance. However, dating apps, although they can be fantastic, they can also come with risks. So things like exposure to sexual harassment and financial scams. And these might disproportionately affect older users due to factors such as lower technological literacy and generational differences in understanding online safety. So our study seeks to fill this research gap by focusing on older women's safety concerns when using dating apps and identifying how educational messaging can effectively address these risks. Research has shown that over 60s are actually the fastest growing cohort of dating app users. So it's surprising then, or it was surprising to us, that there isn't more research about their experiences of using these apps. And it's even more surprising that there is a lack of information that caters specifically for this group. So our study set out to address this gap in the research by exploring two key questions. The first one is, what are the dating app safety concerns of Australian women aged 55 and older, and how can effective messaging be delivered to this particular group? Unfortunately, the research tells us that violence against women perpetrated via dating apps is not rare, with 1 in 10 Australian women reporting an unwanted sexual experience with somebody that they had first met online. However, like I mentioned, much of the current research focuses on younger women. And then, as a run on from that, a lot of the available safety information is also aimed at them as well. And of course, some of the potential harmful interactions apply to all women who use these apps. So, for example, getting sent unsolicited sexual images, such as dick pics, and unwanted requests for sex. For older women specifically, though, the relationship dynamics are likely to be different than those of younger people. And older women may have been more used to taking a passive and gendered dating role in their younger life. And that may also play out when they start to use dating apps. Older, older dating app users may be less familiar with safety features such as blocking or reporting abusive behaviour, and it might leave them more vulnerable to suspicious interactions, essentially. Limited experience in navigating online interactions can also increase the risk of harm. So older women are particularly susceptible to romance scams, and that's when perpetrators exploit trust to try and gain money or in some other financial way. And scammers often leverage generational norms of trust and politeness, and then they may expose their victims to things like emotional manipulation, financial exploitation, or catfishing through the use of fake profiles. And like I said, we noticed lots of the information was aimed at younger women, but we also noticed lots of the online safety messaging was text-based. So long chunks of text, perhaps there might be some photographs peppered through there. And although the details may have been really good, it wasn't particularly interesting or particularly engaging for the reader. So our project, we wanted to create an alternative to this traditional text-based approach to try and help women to better remember and absorb safety messaging. The research shows that shorter videos are the most effective in helping people stay engaged with content and helping them to retain that information. So we decided to produce 3 videos, shortish in length, while also trying to avoid the scare tactics which are often used in these contexts. Dating online is supposed to be fun, so we didn't want to scare women and put them off using these apps. We also tried to create dynamic characters with relatable storylines, and we were really keen to add a sense of humour in there as well. So the storylines were informed by real anonymised case information from the North Queensland Women's Legal Service, because we wanted an element of realism in each story. The subject matter is pretty dark, so we thought it was important to include some humour. This also helps people to remember, and it delivers a serious message with a bit more of a lighter tone. So the methodology, really quickly, we had 121 Australian cisgender women, and they were aged between 55 and 78. And we recruited them from 5 of the Australian states and territories, and they participated in the study by completing a mixed methods survey. And the participants were required to watch the 3 short videos that addressed dating app risks and safety, and each video is between 3 to 5 minutes in length. The videos highlighted real-life scenarios involving common issues like breaches of privacy, financial scams, and receiving unsolicited explicit photographs. And we analysed the data using RTA by Brown and Clark, and that allowed us to identify patterns and themes within the participant responses. And I'm going to talk next about the findings, but I'm only going to focus on the qualitative findings today. So we generated 4 key themes from the analysis, but I'm only going to talk about 2 of them today because I haven't got too much time. So the first one of these is safety concerns about dating apps. So the women in this study expressed concern about several risks, including financial scams, unwanted sexual advances, and breaches of privacy. So, for example, older women in this study often reported apprehension about when to share personal information, what information to share, and what information to hold back. And they were also cautious about navigating app features that they perceived to be designed for younger, more tech-savvy users. Older women did consistently express increased safety concerns with online dating apps. The potential risks associated with them, such as fake profiles, inappropriate behaviour and violence, were key considerations for the women in this study. They emphasised the need for caution and vigilance when using online platforms. And interestingly, while many participants were interested in using these apps, they wanted clearer advice and information that was specifically tailored to their age cohort. So I thought that was really interesting. And there's just a couple of quotes from the participants on the screen. The next theme I wanted to talk about is using safety videos for knowledge building. And what was interesting about this is that the video significantly increased participants' awareness of potential risks, and it equipped them with strategies to mitigate some of these risks. And many of the participants noticed feeling better prepared to identify red flags, use app privacy features, and to navigate online interactions more confidently. The women in the cohort said that watching the videos helped them understand the risks and dangers of using dating apps, as well as some potential legal implications. Some of them felt that this new information would change how they approached dating apps in future because they felt a bit more prepared to handle perhaps unwanted interactions, and they also felt more prepared to know what to watch out for. They found the stories in the videos especially useful and relevant to their age group, particularly for those who were quite new to online dating. So things like setting up profiles or trying to figure out how best to respond to messages. So we discovered that storytelling is a really powerful way to connect with women and make safety information resonate with them on a personal level. By sharing realistic scenarios, the project uses stories to show how common online dating risks might play out and how women can respond effectively. And the women said this approach helped to see themselves in those situations and made the safety advice feel more relevant and more applicable to their own experiences. For example, rather than just listing safety tips, the videos showed a character navigating a tricky conversation on a dating app. It showed highlighting red flags to a friend who was using an app, or it showed how to demonstrate how to deal with unwanted and unsolicited explicit pictures. So this approach allows women to learn through examples that feel realistic, not patronising, which is also important, and not to frighten them. So it makes the information easier to remember and hopefully easier for them to use in future. The other thing we noticed is that storytelling also makes sensitive topics more approachable. So again, by focusing on those relatable characters and situations, the videos helped women engage with the content without making them feel kind of overwhelmed or bombarded with information or bored or afraid of using these apps. So it makes them more likely to apply the safety steps and be proactive when using the dating apps. Just a quick note about limitations of the study. We really wanted to include more diversity in terms of the characters in the video. We absolutely would have liked more First Nations and LGBTQ characters, as well as representation from disabled women and women from CALD communities in the stories, but there are mainly, not all, but mainly white women characters. And this was mainly down to the small budget that we had and the tight timeline that we had for the project. But we're definitely keen to increase representation if we're able to make more videos. And the findings have interesting implications for communities, for organisations, and for education providers. So for community organisations, the videos provide a resource to empower older women to use dating apps safely while building their confidence in their own digital skills. And the videos are featured on the North Queensland Women Legal Service website and the websites of their partners, and they're also up on YouTube, so anybody can watch them. For app developers, there is a clear opportunity to incorporate video-based safety tutorials or video-based tips directly into the app platforms to make the safety education more accessible and more engaging. And more broadly for educators, video resources offer a compelling alternative to those more traditional text-based materials, which many people find less relatable or less engaging. So by using visual storytelling, the project demonstrates how safety education can move beyond written content to create memorable messaging for specific groups of people. So that is me done. Thank you for listening. I've just linked at the bottom links to the actual video. So we've got the link to the channel and then a link to each of the videos individually. So yeah, thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Emma. And I can certainly confirm that having watched those short videos, I found them very engaging and very interesting. And actually, although, as you've said, they're aimed predominantly at older women, I actually learned some tips as well, which I thought I knew everything about online dating, but as it turns out, I didn't. So what we'll try to do is also we'll try to link to those videos under the webinar. But as Emma has shown, that it's called the Dating Apps Safety Project, and it is available on YouTube. And
Yeah, thank you.
yeah, of course, they were great. And so, Kenya, I want to now sort of turn to you and ask you about what role sort of platforms play in safeguarding women, and also what do Bumble do to ensure that women are protected from harassment or abuse. If you could tell us more, that would be great.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I want to echo your comments about the videos. I've watched them as well. Excuse me. I've watched them as well and found them to be really enjoyable, educational, and as you said, humorous. So it made learning about something that can be a sensitive topic, it made it fairly easy to do and easy to engage with the content. So thank you for that. I
Thank you,
will
Kenya.
share.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, they were fantastic. So I will share a few slides as I'm talking about the work that we do here at Bumble. So give me 1 second to bring those up. I'm here to talk about the work that we do at Bumble. And as was shared earlier, I'm Kenya Fairley, our Associate Director of Planning and Partnerships within our Customer Experience team. And across our Customer Experience team, we really facilitate the safety response to our customers, and we focus on ensuring that our community is safe, as well as any engagements that we have with those who use our products, that they receive a fast, empathetic response to help resolve any problems or issues that they may have. So through my role here, I focus on our safety partnerships that help us safeguard our community against a number of issues that they may experience. And I help mature moderation practices and oversee our mental health and well-being programming for our content moderators. And especially for those who are viewing sensitive and potentially traumatizing chats and images as they're responding to the experiences that our members are having, which is very relevant to what we're talking about today. In my role, I work cross-functionally with our social impact team, our public policy communications team, and then I also engage externally with a number of gender-based violence organizations, coalitions that are working to prevent harms against children online, as well as professional trust and safety or associations. And we also work on things that we can do to help improve men's mental health and their experience using our platforms as well. Because what we know is that when we make our apps safer for women, and when we create a safe environment, that we make a safer, kinder experience for everyone that's using our platform. And so we really try to focus on having a holistic approach to how we can make our community safe for individuals as well as overall, so that when our customers are coming onto our platform, they know that they can engage in a safe, respectful environment. So here at Bumble, we have a suite of apps that really focus on bringing people together. So whether that is for dating and romantic connections, for platonic relationships and friendships, or to deepen any connection that you may have once you're in a committed relationship, our platforms are really about how can we help improve those social connections that folks are seeking, and to help prevent loneliness as people are moving through the world and their day-to-day lives are changing. So Bumble Date is probably our more signature program that's most likely familiar with a lot of the audience today that I'll be focusing on. So this is our mission here at Bumble, is to create a world where all relationships are healthy and equitable through kind connections. And we have thousands of success stories that really speak to that, which is really why we love what we do here at Bumble. Our business is anchored in kindness with the intent to shift dating norms, to empower women to make the first move, and to have agency over their dating experience. Bumble was founded by a woman who experienced toxicity in her relationship, and then she set out to build an app with the firm belief that building a platform that prioritizes women's safety and their experiences is a sound business model. We know that by creating a platform that's anchored in making women feel safe, that we encourage a kinder environment for everyone online. So we're doing our best to really work on and identify and curb bad behaviors, and to prevent bad actors from accessing our platforms, or to remain on our platforms once we identify that they're on our platforms for malicious intent. We work to drive societal change, and we also engage with policymakers as well, around making sure that those who commit gendered harms online are held accountable for their actions. And we really are working to make sure that things that happen online and things that happen in real life, that there's an understanding between those linkages, and that people who are creating these harms are being held accountable. So we've done things, and I think this was mentioned earlier, we've done a lot to address things such as cyber flashing and other types of technology facilitated abuse. And so I do want to talk a little bit about the issue of cyber flashing, because that's something that Emma had referred to in her presentation, and what we've also learned about that issue and what we've done to address that here at Bumble. Emerging technologies certainly, as I go through, I'm going to say that these are a few things that I'm going to touch on while I'm talking. But as mentioned earlier, emerging technologies really have revolutionized our daily lives, ultimately for the better in a lot of different ways. But what we still find, and what Emma's research certainly shows, is that women continue to suffer some of the most negative consequences of technology, that women still experience disproportionate levels of online harassment and abuse. And this is not an issue that is solely unique to Bumble or solely unique to dating apps in general. From research that's been conducted in the US with our partners at the National Domestic Violence Hotline, for example, they've reported that From a study they did in 2022, 960 respondents had experienced some form of online harassment and abuse, whether that's through text messaging and social media apps, and other types of platforms where people are connecting, but they have experienced things such as offensive name calling, bullying, cyber stalking, body shaming, sexual harassment, threats of non-consensual intimate image abuse, sextortion, and doxing. We've also commissioned some research ourselves here at Bumble to help us better understand this issue as well. And we know that nearly half of those aged 18 to 24 also have received a photo that they haven't asked for. And these types of behaviors really leave a lasting negative impact that goes beyond just that one interaction. And especially if there is more than one of these types of interactions that happen. So we know that this can lead to women feeling that there's a loss of trust of others online, that 1 in 4 will feel violated from this experience, and that they then continue to feel more vulnerable as they continue to use the internet at large. And I think this really speaks a lot to what Emma was saying that she found in her research as well, is that that lack of trust and that concern for being exploited can be deeply distressing and can also be harmful to women's mental health as they're still working to navigate the internet. So a couple of things that we do here at Bumble in order to make sure that we have that we can create a more safe experience for people using our platforms, and specifically for women in particular. So for example, in 2019, we launched Private Detector. And Private Detector is a feature that uses artificial intelligence to automatically detect and blur nude images. So if you're conversing and chatting with a match and they then want to send you an intimate image, our Private Detector will detect that that image is a nude explicit image. It will blur that image and then give the recipient the option to view that image, delete it, or make a report. So of course, being a dating app, folks will have conversations that may be sexually explicit or intimate in nature. And so we don't want to prevent that from happening, but we do want to make sure that if someone is sending a lewd image or a nude image, that there's consent to receive that image, and that is being sent within the context of the conversation, and that the person receiving it is not feeling sexually harassed, but they're feeling that this is a direction they want to go in with that conversation. So what Private Detector does is it again gives the person receiving that image the opportunity to decide if they want to see it and if they want to continue that conversation. And if they don't, we have really robust block and report features where our members can make a report immediately without having to view that image. They can immediately make a report about the person that sent it to them, and that will come into our safety team, and we can then investigate and take further action. A few other things that we do here at Bumble to make our environment safe. So I just want to touch on these. We have photo verification, which is an opportunity for any of our users to verify their photos and go through our verification process so that when you are seeking to connect with someone, you know that person is authentic and who they say they are. We have in-app video chat and video call, which allows our members to connect with each other in a more personal way, but without having to share their personal details, phone number, email address, anything like that until they're ready. So it allows you to stay within the app and to be able to deepen your connection without having to give out any personal information until you're ready. I've already talked about Private Detector. And then more recently, we've also launched Deception Detector, which we're also really proud of. And our Deception Detector is used to help identify spam, scams, and fake profiles. So we're able to detect a large majority of that harmful content, those inauthentic profiles, and remove them from our platforms before any of our users have to be exposed to them. And that's really helpful as well, because here at Bumble, we want to focus on authentic, genuine connections that our members can make. And then along with this, we do have along with our proactive detection features, we also have our human moderation team. So we have a team across the globe of humans who are working incredibly hard and really, really diligent in their efforts to provide fast, accurate, trauma-informed, and empathetic responses to our members when things go wrong. So our team is here to take a look at any of the interactions that happen that are reported to us or that are flagged through our system, so that we can review and investigate and take action on those accounts and those bad actors who are not on our platforms with good intent. And then I also do want to share that there are a few other ways that we have safety resources that we make available. So we have our safety handbook online, which explains all of our safety features and what we do to make sure our platforms are safe for our users. We have a number of different how-to guides that talk about digital consent, romance scams, boundary setting, things like that. We also have within our app, we have a safety center that you can go on to automatically connect to resources, helplines, and websites that give you more information about your emotional well-being and any type of support you may need if there's a crisis that happens. We also have The Buzz, which is our online blog that talks about a number of different safety features, as well as our success stories, new partnerships that we have, exciting things that are happening across our product. And then as I get ready to wrap up, I do want to share that we have a fantastic partnership with Chan, who runs our Bloom program. So Chan is a global nonprofit that delivers online resources to support survivors of gender-based violence. They're multicultural, multilingual, diverse, feminist organization. And so we've partnered with them to launch Bloom. And Bloom is our program that supports survivors who report to us that they may have experienced any form of sexual harassment, abuse, or sexual violence from connections they've made on our platforms. So we offer educational courses that can help anyone using our platform really learn more about safe dating practices, but also help to understand the social, cultural context of gender-based violence. We have courses that talk about healthy dating, setting boundaries, healing from toxic relationships, recovering from intimate image abuse, and other things along those lines. Through Bloom, we also have our members can engage in one-to-one reflective chat with Bloom counselors. They can receive affirmational messages from Bloom on WhatsApp. And in some cases, we offer complimentary therapy sessions for our members who may express that need to us. Bloom is available in 6 different languages, both on our websites, and for those who are seeking support, we can ensure they have support in a language where they feel comfortable. And we've heard from our Bloom users that going through the courses has helped them to better navigate what they've experienced. It's helped them be able to communicate about it and also name and contextualize what that experience may have been, to understand that it wasn't their fault if something like that has happened to them. So as I wrap up today, I just want to leave with a couple of key points, and then I'll pass it back over to you. So here at Bumble Inc., women's online safety is deeply embedded in our origin story, as well as the work that we do day in and day out. We deploy a number of safety features to empower our users, to allow them to exercise agency in their dating habits and to reduce their exposure to harm. We do that both through proactive detection measures as well as reacting to reports that come into us. And our customer experience safety team is really dedicated to providing trauma-informed responses to our members. And we want to make sure that they know that we're always there for them and we have their back. We're continuously seeking to improve our safe dating practices. And this is one way in which we do it, by talking about the things that we are doing across our platform. So thank you so much today. I've really enjoyed talking about this, and now I'll hand it back over.
Thank you so much, Kenya. That was such an interesting and informative presentation. And it's been great to hear about all the wonderful things that Bumble does to make their platform safer for women. And what I noticed that both of you spoke about the issues such as, lack of trust when dating online, fears of exploitation, fears of, receiving any kind of malicious messages or cyber flashing. And although, Bumble does a lot to ensure that women are safeguarded from that, but we still have quite a high numbers of abuse of women across the board. So I wanted to ask both of you, what challenges do you think exist that stop making platforms and online dating experiences safer for women generally? Anyone who wants to go first can go first.
I think one of the main issues is related to kind of inadequate protections on the platforms. Bumble, what they do is absolutely brilliant. It's great, but there's a lot of variability between apps. So not every dating app you might sign up to has those protections. Um, so a lot of them prioritize kind of user engagement and, you know, numbers of subscribers over safety. So they have quite limited verification processes, or their moderation is quite weak, or there's quite inconsistent enforcement of, you know, community guidelines. So I think working on the protections in the app is important, and a focus on safety rather than on kind of user engagement. And I think also addressing those gaps in safety education. So women, particularly older women users, or those who are new to online dating apps, might not be aware of all of these different safety features. So it's about advertising those, advertising what privacy settings are offered by the app, talking about things like setting location settings and all of that. And I think there's a broader issue around normalization of harmful behaviors. So often things like, you know, cyber flashing and those unwanted sexual advances, they're often seen or kind of often dismissed as, you know, oh, that's just part of online dating, rather than kind of addressed as they should be as systematic safety issues.
Yeah, I can agree with a lot of what Emma just said in her response. And I think that what we're also seeking to do here is constantly think about safety by design and keeping safety at the center of everything that we do. So even while we are considering new features to launch for our product or new ways to increase member engagement, we're consistently conducting a safety risk assessment so we can understand what could the potential harm be to our members and how can we either reduce or completely mitigate that risk, so that when we're launching new features, they can be seen as enjoyable, useful, and really helpful in deepening connections versus continuing to increase risk of harm. I'll also say that we, as I mentioned earlier, that we continuously work with policymakers to think about ways that globally we can make online platforms safer, because a lot of the concerns that have come up are not unique to what our members may experience on Bumble or on dating apps, but these are issues and concerns that happen across a number of online platforms where folks are seeking to make connections and where there are social interactions. And so we do work globally with policymakers to think about what we could be doing to contribute to making the internet safer. We also engage with a number of partners who help inform, are there new tools that are available, new ways to detect this type of harm and to keep that harm off of our platform. So we're constantly strengthening the things that we can do to improve the integrity of our community, so that we can prevent bad actors from being on our platform in the first place. So trying to do that, and then also continuing to reinforce through our messaging, our social campaigns, what our online presence is, the things that our representatives may be out there talking about, to make sure that it's known that Bumble is a place for women to be safe, and Bumble is a place where we do not tolerate online hatred, targeted hate, targeted harassment, and things of that nature, where we want to constantly reinforce that this is not a place for that. That when you come onto Bumble, we expect that there is kindness, that there are respectful communications and interactions. And if that's not happening and our members report that to us, we want to be the first ones to step out and say, we've got your back and we're going to do something about it.
Thank you so much, both of you, for such a detailed answer. We're running out of time, but before we go, I do want to ask one last question. And that is, do you have any tips for women how they can stay safe when dating online, especially when it's coming up to Valentine's Day and more people will be searching for their Valentine's date? Please share those if you can.
Absolutely. If I can go first, I'll just share a couple of tips, especially for online dating. So one is to, I would say, always trust your gut. If you feel like the connection is moving too quickly, or it's becoming too intimate too soon and you're not ready, or something just feels off, certainly trust your gut and take a step back. And it's okay to say, thank you for this connection. I've appreciated getting to know you, but this is not the match for me. and to end that conversation. Also report to the app if there's something that has happened that makes you feel really uncomfortable or unsafe. That helps us keep the app safer for everyone. I would also say to think about and consider how your connection treats others, how they talk about others, because that also can give you an indication of their personality and how they might treat you as well in that interaction. And then be cognizant if they come across as very cold or evasive or standoffish and they don't want to share about themselves. They're not answering questions, but they're asking you a lot about your personal information, your background, your history. If that seems off, then also that's a red flag. So if you realize that this person, you've been chatting or messaging with this person for several days or several weeks, but honestly, what do you really know about them? They may have gained a lot of information about you. You don't know much about them. So that could be a red flag as well around the deepening of that connection and the how genuine is that actual connection. So that's another sign to take a step back.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Kenya. I'd absolutely echo all of those great points. I've probably got just a couple more really to add. I think it's really important to be cautious about stories of financial hardship. And if somebody is trying to scam a match, they won't ask for that kind of stuff straight up. There'll be a few stories, there'll be a tale, and then the request for money or for personal information will come later. So just be conscious of that. The other thing is be aware of kind of fast-tracked intimacy. So maybe be cautious if somebody gives you over the top compliments or they declare, their love within weeks or even days. And the other thing I would say to be quite cautious of is if your match pressures you to move the conversation off the app quickly. So they might say, let's go to WhatsApp, give me your phone number, or let's go via email. Be cautious of that. And also don't meet somebody very, very quickly. Take your time, get to know them. Consider, as Kenya said, what is it you really know about that person? And yeah, definitely trust your instincts. That's the most important one.
Thank you so much to both of you. It's been such an insightful conversation, and I really hope that our viewers enjoyed and take some tips away. So thank you for joining me today.
Thank you. It's been really interesting.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.